So Elden Ring released on February 25th, 2022, and I had pre-ordered it a couple weeks prior. I rushed home from work on release day, installed the game, and immediately began exploring the vast open world of Elden Ring. And of course, I constantly got destroyed by the tree sentinel, which is pretty standard, so I figured I should avoid him and try leveling up by defeating weaker enemies. I began to explore nearby ruins and clearing out all the enemies in the area. In the ruins, I discovered a treasure chest, and when I opened it, I was teleported to Caelid, which, if you don't know, is one of the hardest areas in the game, especially in the beginning hours. I couldn't use my map to fast travel, and I was essentially helpless. I was stuck in this random cave somewhere. Even though I had been destroyed by the tree sentinel, caught in a teleportation trap, and left stranded in a terrifying cave, I was still having fun. The next day, I had stumbled upon an elevator, and when I took it, I ended up discovering a location called the Soifra River, and I was blown away by how beautiful it looked. Only to get destroyed by almost everything in the area, but I didn't mind dying so much in Elden Ring. I felt amazing for being one of the first people to discover the Soifra River. I asked my friends if they had found it, and they would ask, "Where is it on the map?" To which I would respond, "It's actually underground, like underneath the map." And they couldn't believe it. I mean, it was just in such a random spot, nobody had really seen it yet. I continued to play the game off and on for the next few days when I would get off of work or had some free time, and I eventually made it to the Academy of Raya Lucaria. And after exploring it for a while, I began to truly realize just how massive Elden Ring's world is. When it finally sunk in, I immediately felt overwhelmed. Exploring was still fun, but it was also daunting. The game was so big that I felt I may never have enough time to actually finish it. So I began procrastinating. Instead of playing the game after work, I told myself I would wait until my day off and make significant progress. But as time went on, other games came out, and I wanted to play those instead. So I took a break from Elden Ring, but always kept it in the back of my mind, telling myself that I would come back to it and finish it at some point. Well, some life-altering situations occurred, and I became extremely depressed for a while. But after working hard and some therapy, I finally got my life back on track, and I started to feel better. And out of nowhere, the DLC was announced it would be releasing soon. And I still hadn't progressed anywhere near where I should be. I was still through Raya Lucaria. By the way, the gap between the game releasing and the DLC releasing is like 2 years. And after all that time, I was still only like a quarter of the way through the main story. But the DLC releasing gave me a new motivation and a new urge to finish the game so I can play the DLC. But I still felt extremely overwhelmed. But eventually I was able to push through and finally load up Elden Ring again after so long. I was overwhelmed until one day I joined my brother's Discord server, and they noticed I was playing Elden Ring. They told me to stream it, and I did. I was fighting Renala and getting my ass kicked. I was only level 35, so it was pretty obvious that I was underleveled for this fight, and it just over and over and over again I was getting my ass kicked by Renala. Only for my brother's friends to tell me that Renala is the easiest boss in the game, and I suck. Which is fair. That's definitely fair. But they didn't just insult me, they decided to help as well. So they joined my game, and they dropped me some runes. So I leveled up. I think I was maybe level 70 after all the runes they gave me. Which some may consider cheating, which, I mean, fair. But at least I wasn't struggling to play the game anymore. I was finally starting to have some fun again. After leveling up with the runes my friends gave me, I finally was able to defeat Renala after my second attempt after leveling up. My friends ended up guiding me through the rest of the game, joining my world to help me defeat certain bosses, showing me how to get my mimic tier and how to level it up, guiding me through some cool quest lines, and so much more. Finally, I was able to enjoy Elden Ring again, and I was having a blast. I realized that playing with friends made my experience feel far less daunting and much more manageable. Now, I know most of you would probably just tell me to get good, which is fair, but I couldn't deny that I was having so much fun, even though my friends helped me with most of the game. When it comes to Souls games, I normally prefer using light weapons with quick attacks. So I normally use weapons like the Uchigatana and run a dexterity build. My friend joined my world and dropped me Rivers of Blood, and I was extremely hyped because that weapon is insanely cool and it fit my style perfectly. I used this weapon for most of my playthrough. That is until I told my friends I wanted to do Ronnie's quest line. So they guided me through it and told me to watch out for the dragon, guided me some more, told me to watch out for the dragon again, and eventually I finished the questline, to which I was rewarded with one of the most beautiful weapons in the game, the Dark Moon Greatsword. I knew immediately that I wanted to use this weapon, but there were a couple of problems. Firstly, my character wasn't spec'd properly to wield the weapon efficiently, and secondly, it was a greatsword. I always hated using slow weapons because I always felt vulnerable while attacking. So I knew learning how to use this one would be a huge task. I would need to approach fights with much more patience than I normally would. Instead of my usual quick attacks, I would need to play more slow and careful, which was an interesting experience to say the least, but I did eventually take out a few bosses while using it, and man, it was epic. As of right now, I have defeated the Elden Beast and can end the game whenever I want, but there is much more I still need to do before I begin the DLC. I still need to defeat Millennia, which is one of my favorite boss fights in all of the Souls series. The footage on screen now is roughly my 5th attempt at fighting her, and I absolutely bullied her first phase. It was wild. Long story short, I greatly enjoy Elden Ring, but I'm not sure if I would enjoy it as much without my friends helping me, which I find strange because I played Bloodborne almost entirely solo, and I got the Platinum Trophy as well. I also beat Bloodborne twice in a single day, only a couple hours apart, and I have the trophies to prove it. So why was Bloodborne much more enjoyable to play solo, but Elden Ring felt daunting without my friends? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I'm just weird and need to get good. But regardless, I am enjoying my time with Elden Ring, and I'm excited to start the DLC. People say the DLC is extremely difficult, way more difficult than the base game, so this is definitely going to be interesting to say the least. But I'm looking forward to it regardless. I'm looking forward to the challenge, and if I start to feel like the challenge is too daunting, at least I know my friends will be here to make the journey a little easier. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and thanks for listening.